Hello and welcome to this module evaluating current debates and developments. My name's Nathan Loynes and I'll be your tutor. My contact details are available on the module handbook. So today's presentation we're going to explore where our views, perspectives and some of our values might come from. And this is the shape of the presentation. The presentation itself is available for you to click through at your own pace and examine some of the ideas in more detail. Click on the hyperlinks, explore some of the sites that they take you to. But this particular presentation will have an audio commentary provided by myself in order to talk you through some of the issues to raise discussion. So the title of the presentation is Where Do Our Views Come From? Well, one of the major sources of our own perspective and view on social issues are newspapers that have been around for a number of hundreds of years now, although up until recently they were accessed in the print format. Now it's much easier that you can access them online, and there follows a selection of various newspapers that are available to you online, which will feature some of the debates that are covered throughout the module. So first of all, there's the Independent. And as I've said, we're able to click on these links within the presentation and it takes you directly to the Independent site. The beauty of using internet newspaper sites is that you can perform searches which you obviously couldn't do using print media. So let's consider early years as a topic and search within the site. And here is a very recent debate regarding cutting family child benefit for certain families, obviously, as that would then impact on early years provision professionally and what families can actually provide for their young children. So rather than having to trawl through the whole newspaper sat there at your desk page by page, you can put these searches in and actually locate the relevant headlines and issues. So moving on from the Independent generally considered to be a centre-left newspaper in that it has views that are sympathetic to socialist and liberal values. The Mirror tends to be the only red top tabloid newspaper that has consistently been of a socialist or Labour persuasion, if you like. And the same procedure, click on the web link on the other presentation and put some searches into the Mirror site. Moving further into the centre, The Guardian traditionally positions itself as a centre liberal progressive newspaper. People have heard about the Guardian reader stereotype, and that usually means someone employed in the public sector, such as social workers, teachers and so on. And it's believed that the articles are written to appeal to the liberal and progressive sympathies of its readership. Moving across the centre divide into the believed to be more right-wing newspapers, the Times is deemed to be supportive of the establishment and the current social order, although some would argue that perhaps it veers over that centre line and adopts a more left-wing political outlook. Interestingly, the Times Online recently tried to make its online readership subscription only, so you would have to pay for it in order to read the Times newspaper articles, but that's not the case. The Times is still available online, as are all these newspapers. The Telegraph has tended to remain in a staunchly right-wing position, although it's a broadsheet in a similar vein to The Independent, The Guardian and The Times. The language which the Telegraph uses is slightly, well, I'll let you find out for yourself by coming into contact with the way in which the Telegraph is written. The Sun, traditionally viewed to be the most right wing of the popular papers, The Sun is the most read daily newspaper in the UK, which at times has got a readership of all the other newspapers combined together. Interestingly, The Sun switched allegiance from being a pro-Conservative newspaper to being a pro-New Labour supporter during the premiership of Tony Blair. It's since switched that political allegiance back to Conservative support following the premiership of Gordon Brown. And the Daily Mail, which is a newspaper out there on its own in many regards. The Daily Mail is the newspaper that is traditionally read by a female readership, and there are lots of sociological studies into perhaps why that is the case. It has a lot of coverage on the royal family, and also it tends to be described as having a certain stereotypical readership, in the same way that The Guardian has a typical stereotypical readership. The Daily Mail might be considered to be middle class, insular women, but I'll allow you to make your own mind up on that. Okay, so that's a short Dylan-esque pastiche of the scandal mongering that people accuse the Daily Mail of doing. You can watch the whole thing for yourself within the other presentation without the commentary. Professional publications can also be a source of shaping our views. As a former social worker in children's services, my professional magazine was Community Care, and you can click on these links as well and have a look at them. In a more general sense, those that work within the children's workforce can look at Children and Young People Now, which covers less esoteric issues than just children's social care, but articles and debates relating to children and the children's workforce in general. Early Years, an early years specific publication, and the Times Educational Supplement, which appeals to educationalists and teaching staff. Social relationships can also influence our viewpoint and perspective, and briefly a whistle-stop tour through those. Friends can influence us, and they can influence our views within social occasions such as this. It doesn't have to be a formalised debate, but as you might know yourself, a couple of glasses of wine and people tend to advocate very strong views on certain subjects, and those views formed carry through into sober life sometimes. Okay. Work colleagues. Perhaps representative of a work-colleague relationship. Power also playing a part within work relationships. Partner. Conversations that might be had in the car on the way to the supermarket, etc. Clients. It's not a one-way process that we shape the ideas of clients. They can also shape our ideas in various ways. Overheard conversations, the kind of things that are going on in the background that we overhear, that we then dedicate thought to a later time. Perhaps things that we weren't meant to hear that shape our views about an organisation or an issue, or things that people don't really mind whether we hear or not. Children, again, the relationship isn't just one way, although traditionally the power relationship is seen to be as that adults influence children. What children tell us and what they don't tell us can also influence what we think about issues. Social networking sites, much more prevalent over the last 4 or 5 years, with statistics saying that if social networking sites such as Facebook were a country, it would be the 4th largest populated country in the world. Very influential, and just not frivolous, as many professional organisations now have a Facebook presence. With things like Facebook, are we blurring the distinction between what we classed as media, the old print newspapers and the radio, and what we term a relationship? Do we really have a relationship with our friends, numerous hundreds of friends, so on Facebook and MySpace and so on? The internet can shape our views. Pressure groups such as NetMums, an online community of mothers which originated out of trying to organise activities for children, now has become political in many ways, with Gordon Brown providing interviews and so on with NetMums in order to influence their voting behaviour. The Children's Workforce Development Council, the DCFS, Every Child Matters. Do these sites, the internet, can we clearly say if something is the internet or traditional media? For example, these media sources such as Teachers TV, are they examples of traditional media like television or new media like the internet? It's not clear. Similarly with Social Care TV, which is like the social care version of Teachers TV, BBC Radio 4, there's some links for you to click within Moodle, and also the BBC site provides up-to-date news and analysis. Here is a summary of the main points that's been covered so far throughout the presentation. First of all, that our views come from a variety of often overlapping sources. Many people in the West believe that our views are made or socially constructed. There is a lot of theory surrounding that idea. If we believe that our views are constructed, we must also believe that a person's view is relative or related to their life experiences, which means that different views develop given that there are different life experiences. On the other hand, looking at things differently, some people believe that certain views, such as what is right and wrong, are natural or absolute. They just are, they're given. Traditionally, our views were shaped by a few sources, social interactions with a few people, notably family and friends. However, in a postmodern society such as ours, with the advent of more complex social relationships and mass information and communications, our views may be influenced by very many sources, and we've just covered what some of those are. Consequently, it can be a challenge for us to understand exactly where our own views come from. This is partly because we may have forgotten, or perhaps we are not willing to examine or challenge our held views, especially our strong views. Our reluctance to challenge our own views might stem back from a belief that our views make us who we are. To attack a held view is to attack ourselves, and there's a reluctance and defence mechanisms around that. Similarly, we may be reluctant to disagree with other people in case we are perceived as hostile, persecutory or contrary. A possible consequence of that is that we are reluctant to engage in debates for those reasons. However, with the health warning that's been provided, this module is not about attacking the views of another person in order to win an argument and forcing the other person to lose. It is supposed to be a journey of discovery to understand the merits of various social viewpoints. Thank you.